Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2020-21 season. My name is Dan and today we're going to do a buy, sell, keep, avoid video for game week 16, which is going to be a little bit different this week, a little bit strange because as I make this video, not even half of the games have finished yet. Actually, pretty little football's been played in game week 15, so it's going to be a little bit weird. Hopefully this is still going to be useful to you guys. I do want to keep the consistency going on in the channel, keep making these buy, sell, keep, avoid videos every single game week as long as I can, and you know what, we're going to give it a go anyway. Hopefully you're going to find this useful anyway. Hopefully you're going to find some time to watch this video, even though there's so much football to watch, and hopefully we can really help you with your FPL team. So without further ado, let's quickly talk about the rules. So the way this series works is players who are buys are players you probably don't have but you should consider bringing into your teams. Players who are sells are players you probably have but should consider removing. Players who are keeps, they're players you probably have and should keep. And then finally avoids are players that you probably don't have and you should also avoid. So we're going to go 2 of each. I think the keeps and avoids, I'm not going to talk about as much this game week, probably, just because the keeps and avoids, I usually base them on transfers ins and transfers out, but because we're so early into the preparation for game week 16, I don't really know who are going to be the big players that people are transferring in or out. So I've kind of made predictions here, but hopefully this will be useful. This will all make sense. But anyway, well, let's start off with some buys. So my first buy for today is Eric Dyer. Obviously Spurs have just had a really tough run of fixtures and it's finally over. I guess after Wolves, I think Wolves you would maybe say is the last hard game. Though arguably Wolves is not a hard game for a defender. But now it's going to look good for Spurs, so really good fixtures in the next 5. Wolves, obviously, that's who they've just played. Well, I mean, have they just played them? It depends what time you've watched this video. As I talk right now, Spurs have not played Wolves yet. But after that, Fulham, that's pretty good for a defensive point of view. Leeds could be okay. We'll see what happens there. Villa, I think they can do something there. And then Sheffield United. So not a bad run of fixtures. I think overall, if you go further than that, they have a couple of not so good fixtures. But there's some really nice fixtures interspersed between those games as well. So overall, it's a pretty good time to go in on the Spurs defence. And honestly, the defence has actually been posting some okay stats considering they've had some really tough games all in a row. The fullbacks, Reguilon and Aurier, they're probably going to score a few more points than Dyer when they do play. But they cost a little bit more. And they're much bigger rotation risks during a congested fixture period. So when there's lots of games all in a row, we want to kind of avoid the players who are rotation risks. And I think Dyer is a player who's just going to play every single game no matter what. Completely rotation proof. And this is going to be a huge advantage to you because you don't need to worry about having players on your bench to come in as backup. That's kind of what we like. And also, Dyer plays in game week 18. Where, most good defenders actually blank in that game week. So if you're not going to be free hitting on game week 18, Dyer's probably one of the defenders you want to have for that game week. Maybe Dyer and some Man City defenders. After that, I'm not really sure who you'd really want for that game week 18 if you are planning on not free hitting. Anyway, let's move on to our next buy, and that today is Marcus Rashford. I've kind of been debating Rashford versus Martial for a little while now, like a few days, because I do want to get one of them. They're both looking really good. They're getting plenty of opportunities to score and really benefiting, I guess, from Bruno's form and Pogba getting a few minutes as well, creating those chances as well. Now, Manchester United have a double game week in game week 19. We know this. They also have an unscheduled game against Burnley that needs to fit in somewhere. Needs to go in somewhere, and it probably needs to be fit in somewhere pretty soon. Now, this could go into game week 18, which means Manchester United could be the only team that don't blank in game week 18 and also get a double in game week 19. Now, if that doesn't happen, it could potentially go into game week 17. That might be a bit short notice now, to be honest. But if Manchester United do get their double game week in game week 17, this extra Burnley game being put in there, that could be awesome. Two double game weeks in the space of 3 actual game weeks, which is just insane. Really, really good. If not, I'm not sure where it's going to fit in. Maybe it goes in a little bit later, but I do think there's a good chance of it being scheduled in pretty soon. So for that reason, I do want to see how I can get some Manchester United players into my team, and also the fixture run. It looks awesome for United, kind of long term as well. So after the double game week in game week 19, they have an insane run of games, right? So Sheffield United, Arsenal, Southampton, Everton, West Brom, and then Newcastle. So all in all, looks like a really great time to double up. on Manchester United. Obviously, take Bruno and then pick one more. If you asked me yesterday, I may have said go for Martial over Rashford. If you ask me tomorrow, I might say go for Martial over Rashford. But today, right now, I think Rashford is the one to go for despite the extra cost. Firstly, I think he's the better player and could make better of his stats, whereas Martial, he can be a bit sloppy in front of goals sometimes. Well, I know Rashford can as well, but I think Martial's a little bit worse for it. And the other reason is I think that Martial may be rotated or taken off early in games in favour of Cavani. Cavani, when fit, when he's playing, he looks brilliant, but I don't think he can play every game. So I do think there's going to be that rotation between Cavani and Martial to a degree. Martial kind of has the pace, Cavani has the quality. So I think they might share minutes over if it's a particularly busy period, and if they play 2 double game weeks, that's kind of busy. So they might be rotated a little bit, the two of those. Rashford, on the other hand, is pretty much unchallenged as the best winger at the club, isn't he? I mean, I think we could probably all agree with that. Plus, he can play up top if he's needed up there as well. So he can easily play both games in double game weeks, midweek and then the weekend, no problem. The other reason is that, remember, Rashford, he gets an extra point per goal. So despite Martial having a slightly higher chance of scoring per minute played, he actually gets less points for the goals that he scores. And, of course, he doesn't actually play as many minutes as Rashford. So Rashford just edging it for me, and I think he's going to be the one I go for when I do double up on Manchester United, which is going to be pretty soon. Time for some sells, and I'm going to start you off with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, I've been saying for ages, don't sell Calvert-Lewin. There's no point, just keep him in your team. He's game week 16 now, and I think the time has finally come where it's okay to sell him. I think the time has come. I'm not going to say he's not going to pick up any points anymore. He will pick up points, but I think there's just better options right now. Calvert-Lewin's form is okay, but he's not scoring anything monster, unless he scores something big against Sheffield United by the time I release this video. But either way, it's kind of irrelevant. He's been a good, consistent point scorer, but he's not getting anything mega recently. And he's just he's not looked too likely to either. I mean, he's getting the odd chance, he's getting some good chances, but he's underperforming his expected goals, but he's also massively overperforming his assists by a lot. He has no double game week in game week 19, which that kind of puts me off. Even his single game week in game week 18 against Wolves looks kind of like a bit of an average fixture. And in general, after the Sheffield United game, his fixtures just look poor in general. So Man City, then West Ham, then Wolves, then Aston Villa, who are doing really well keeping clean sheets at the moment, and then Leicester. Of those fixtures, the only game you would say is okay is the West Ham one, I guess. Other than that, it's kind of like it's not really a good run of fixtures as well. And you can always get DCL back in later, but right now there are just so many nicer options. Martial, Firmino, Bamford, Che Adams, Antonio. You can maybe go for Tammy Abraham if you fancy that. Maybe Chris Wood. So basically, now is kind of just not the right time to own DCL. If you're really worried about losing value in him, fine, keep him. I guess you could do that. But I think more than anything, I'm trying to tell you, Man City next, bad fixtures to follow. Lots of other interesting options as well in the forward positions. I think it's fine to get rid of DCL now. Don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel bad about it. He's no longer essential. He'll free up a lot of your money. Go for it. If that's something that you are interested in doing, don't feel bad about it. Just do it. Now, Pedro Neto as a sell. So originally this was actually going to be Tyrone Mings here, but since Mings got red carded in the game whilst I was making my notes for this video, I don't really think I need to tell you to sell Mings anymore. He's red carded anyway, just get rid of him. But since I put Neto down as an avoid for 2 weeks now, the last 2 weeks I put Neto down as an avoid, because for some reason the FPL world has kind of gone a bit crazy for him, and I'm not really understanding it. He's now up to 12.5% of in teams, so he's in so many teams now. I'm sure a lot of you guys do have him in your team, to be honest, and it's kind of time for him to go, even if you just got him in. I'm being serious. United away next, then Brighton away, which people always say, oh, Brighton away, that's a green fixture on the FPL app, must be an easy game. It's never an easy game. Brighton away is just not a nice game to play if you're an attacker. It really isn't. So Everton then after that. West Brom is an okay game that they've got in game week 19, but the West Brom game that Everton have got is in the double game week. Oh, not Everton, that Wolves have got is in the double game week. So it's kind of like, yes, West Brom is a good fixture for Neto, but at the same time, he's going to actually end up being one of the lowest scoring midfielders, because all the other midfielders in that game week are going to be scoring huge points because they're playing twice. Or at least you would think, or at least have the better chance of scoring those huge points. So even what the game week, he has a good fixture, because everyone else is playing twice, it's not actually that good in comparison. So yeah. That's not great, is it? So yeah, wouldn't want him for the double game. He doesn't have a double, as you don't know. After that as well, he's got Chelsea. So rubbish run in general. He's in a team that doesn't score a lot of goals. His stats look good for about 2 game weeks, and he hasn't really done much else. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh there. I don't think he's been bad. I want to make that clear. I don't think he's been bad. I just don't think he's the best you can get for your money, and I think he takes up kind of a really valuable midfield slot. Because midfielders are really important at the moment, and I think you've got to pick the right ones. And the ones I would be going for in a similar price range to Neto would be kind of Rafinha, Jared Bowen, Walcott. Maybe that could be kind of an interesting pick. El Ghazi and Traore at Aston Villa, who are just looking fantastic, by the way. And then of course Soucek and Lookman. If you're trying to save a little bit of cash, you want to move your money elsewhere. Maybe, you know, put them on the bench. Then yeah, you can do something like that. So plenty of options, guys, but Neto for me is just not the one. I'm sorry. So my first keep of the day is Harry Kane. Again. So he's kind of about to play Fulham and then Leeds. I don't know how he got on against Wolves. You'll have to tell me in the comments. Well, I mean, I will watch the game, but, you know, we'll find out how he gets on against Leeds, I suppose. Against Wolves. But yeah, Fulham and then Leeds. Really nice fixtures. Leeds in particular, he's going to score something decent. He's going to get a major score in that game week, I'm sure about that. I just don't think you can sell him before Leeds. Leeds have just been so bad in defence, and Kane and Son, they're going to get huge scores in that game week 17 game, and you've got to have at least one of them for that game week. Otherwise, you're really going to regret it, and it's very likely that you'll lose a lot of rank. You'll plummet down the tables. I'm going to make sure that I have a Spurs player for game week 17, because I currently don't. If I had Kane right now, I'd make sure that I keep him. You know, hold him through the Fulham game and then wait for that Leeds game and enjoy the potential hauls there. Captain him even. So yeah, if you think maybe you can use your money better elsewhere, I know some of you will probably think, well, Kane is so expensive, I'd rather get such and such. Yes, maybe you can use your money better elsewhere longer term, but for now, I really just recommend being patient, holding him through the Fulham game, and getting ready for the Leeds game, because it's going to be good. He's had some tough fixtures, and he's still been getting some results regardless. I think this is going to be big. We might see some kind of returns to earlier on in the season when, you know, Spurs were getting some monster scores. This is the kind of game where that can happen. It's not like you can just sit back and park the bus and try and play a counter like just constantly against Leeds. You will actually get an opportunity to go at them. Well, you will be able to counter them. You will be able to sit back, but it's not a case of, you know, just wait for a few opportunities to make the counters. There will be plenty of opportunities, is what I'm trying to say, basically, in a roundabout way. So yeah, Kane, I think he's really going to find his element in there, creating chances, scoring goals in that Leeds game. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what he can produce, and you should be too. So for that reason, keep him. Jack Grealish is my next keep. I guess in the game against Palace on another day, and this was the game that I actually watched this morning, or this early afternoon, whatever. I think on another day, he could have had yet another huge score. Once again, ridiculously creative. Aston Villa in great form. And Grealish himself is in good form as well. So although it looks like he has some tough fixtures coming up, Chelsea, who are next, they're kind of showing some defensive fragilities recently. It's not actually sure they're going to keep as many clean sheets as people might think. Manchester United have looked really good in attack, but there's not really anything special about the Manchester United defence, so they can be scored against. That's not really something to worry about. And then Spurs, it's kind of hard to tell. I think this might be the most difficult one for Grealish to get points. But after that, the fixtures do turn around. So sometimes with an attacking player, you can just concentrate on their form rather than their fixtures. And if the player and the team is in really good form, just trust them through it all and see what they can do. Pick you up a few points. I'm sure Grealish will be able to pick us up a few points. So if you do have Grealish, keep him. But on the other hand, Grealish is also my first avoid. I know. What? This doesn't make any sense. Well, it does make sense. This is something I wanted to do for a while now. I wanted to do this at some point in the year, show you that a player can be both a keep and an avoid at the same time, because this is why I have 4 categories. It's not just a case of all of these players are good, all of these players are bad. They're good and bad in different ways, and some players who I would keep, I also wouldn't be bringing them in. Wouldn't want to be a new owner of a player, but I would keep them if I already have them, and that is just what Jack Grealish is. because, you know, I have Jack Grealish. I want to keep him, but if I didn't have him, I wouldn't want to buy him in right now. So I think if you're thinking of moving to Jack Grealish, now is probably the wrong time. I think he can do well enough to do something, but I don't think he's going to get anything major. And you probably should spend your transfer elsewhere, getting someone else. His ceiling's just going to be slightly lower over the next 3 game weeks than it is usually. Just wait and maybe get him in a few game weeks if you really want him. He does seem to be getting less goal scoring opportunities recently as well, which is something I've picked up on. So instead, he's kind of playing a slightly deeper playmaking midfielder, I guess. His shooting seems to be less and less frequent as each game passes, and this is kind of because of Ross Barkley's injury. Jack Grealish has had to take on this role. So when Barkley's back, I think Grealish is going to go back to the wing and he'll start looking a bit better in terms of shots. But for now, he's occupying this creative role. This is kind of fantastic for assists, but there's a lot more points in goals from midfielders. Okay, so the final player in this video is Joel Matip, the final avoid as well. I've had quite a lot of people ask me about Matip and where I kind of stand on Matip, so I thought I may as well talk about it here. It's probably a good opportunity to talk about it when I'm not fully sure who to put as the avoids, because I'm not really sure who people are looking at quite yet. But I do think a lot of people will be looking at Matip, and, you know, I thought I'd tell you guys, I don't like Matip as an FPL pick. I've got to be honest with you guys. I think some of you may disagree with me here, but let me kind of explain my reasoning as to why I won't personally be looking at Matip. So I think people are looking at Matip for 2 main reasons. The first reason is that Liverpool have been keeping a few clean sheets, but when they don't keep a clean sheet, they only concede 1 goal. Which that looks good. A few clean sheets, and if they don't keep a clean sheet, only conceded 1 goal. On paper, yeah. That's good. People will look at that and say, well, if they're only conceding 1 goal per game like that, that means they're more likely to get even more clean sheets than they're already getting. It's kind of the opposite. It's actually kind of the opposite. So in most of these games, they've actually been very lucky to concede as few as they have. They've overperformed on their defensive stats, and they've really gotten away with it. They've gotten away with only conceding a few goals, when really they could have conceded a lot more goals. So 3 goals conceded in their past 5 games. That looks great when I say it like that. But what about if I was to tell you that their expected goals conceded is 7.13 over the past 5 games? They're overperforming it by more than double. It's not really sustainable. And to make things even more interesting, what if I were to tell you that the team with the most similar expected goals conceded to Liverpool prior to Gameweek 15, because that's when I started writing these stats down, is Crystal Palace. So Crystal Palace have nearly identical expected goals conceded, and yet Crystal Palace have conceded 12 goals and Liverpool have conceded 3, despite having very, very similar expected goals conceded. So Liverpool are conceding many, many chances. And, you know, if the teams that they were facing were better finishers on the day, they would have conceded a lot more goals. So the idea that Liverpool are looking good at the back, I kind of have no idea where this has come from, really. Probably people who don't watch the games, maybe people who don't look at underlying stats. Liverpool kind of been, well, they're kind of just below average at the moment from a defensive point of view. The other reason people, I think, want Matip is because they think he's a cheap alternative to Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't think he's that either. I really don't think he's that. The appeal of Robertson and Trent is their creativity and their goal threat. Now, Matip, he's going to occasionally pop up with a contribution from a corner. But it's not going to happen regularly. It's not going to happen predictably either. You're kind of relying on luck, which is not really something I like to do. Robertson's attacking numbers in particular, they are genuinely really impressive. A few key passes a game, the occasional shot, set pieces. Matip, you're kind of just hoping that he gets on the end of a corner, because that's the only way he can score goals, really. So, occasional corner header, an occasional clean sheet for 5.5 million for an average, an average defence. If you're spending that money, you want to go for one of the better defence, one of the defences that is performing really well. And, maybe a fullback or someone who is, getting some crosses in and taking some shots in open play. I don't know. It kind of doesn't seem to be worth it to me. You kind of have Cancelo and Diaz at City for a similar price. For a way better defence with way better fixtures as well, can I add. Diaz, he's going to kind of have a similar attacking output. And Cancelo will blow it away. Both of those guys playing for a much better defence. And against a better team, easier teams as well. You can also get Chelsea defender, I guess. Spurs defender, Dyer. Sorry, I was thinking about Diaz and Dyer at the same time there. So if you want to go for a Spurs defender, you can do that. You can go for a West Ham defender if you're looking to target this double game week. I just don't think Matip is the one to go for me personally. And if you do want a Liverpool defender, Robertson, I agree, he looks really good because he has this whole other element to his game where he is creative and will get assists, occasional goals as well. So what I'm saying is, if you do want a Liverpool defender, I don't think it's right to cut corners and go for Matip when actually you can go for Robertson if you want to spend the extra money. Or if you don't want to spend the extra money, then just look elsewhere. Just look elsewhere. It's fine to look elsewhere. That's kind of what I'd be thinking there. So, quick summary. If there's much point in doing this summary this week, I mean, Manchester United is the main team I would be going for an attacking point of view. I've put down Rashford today, spoken about him, but Martial could also be pretty good. I think it's okay to sell Dominic Calvert-Lewin if you want to use the money from the Dominic Calvert-Lewin to facilitate that. Pedro Neto is just someone I'm still not interested in. Harry Kane, hold him. You've got to have Harry Kane or Son in game week 17. So hold him for this one game week against Fulham. Not sure what he'll produce there, but we'll see. But then after that, it's going to be good. And then Jack Grealish is the first player to feature in 2 categories in one video, I think. So he's a keep and an avoid at the same time. And yeah, that's basically it. And Joel Matip is cutting Liverpool corners that I wouldn't go for personally. But perhaps you'll disagree. I am interested, of course, to see what you guys think. So please do let me know in your comments about all of the buy, sell, keeps and avoids. But that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you could leave a like on the video and maybe subscribe if you are new around here, that would be very much appreciated. Hopefully this video was okay, despite the fact it's a bit of a weird time to be making this kind of video midway through all of the games. You know, hopefully it's useful anyway, so please do let me know. Of course, tomorrow I will be doing my team selection video and reviewing most of my score. I'm hoping most of the games will be done by the time I make tomorrow's video. So we can review most of my score and then look at how I'm going to set up for game week 16 as well. So all good in the hood there. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Do check out my Twitter, Instagram. I'm actually using Instagram a little bit now. Do check out my Instagram, Twitter and what have you, all the other stuff in my description. And until tomorrow's video, I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.